going to give you information, we're going to give you news, and we are going to bring you special reports. All that we ask for the next 30 minutes, stay right in front of your television set as we bring you excitement and more on your special program, Sabke Liye. Special guest today, Professor J.D. Agarwal, Chairman of the world-famous Indian Institute of Finance, an island and center of excellence in the National Capital Region of India. Many of you are aware that the Indian banking sector has been in the news recently. People are talking about the so-called scams in the banking sector. Well, should this have happened, and now that it has happened, how do we put in place systems to ensure that it doesn't happen again? But first, what is the present situation of the Indian economy? How is the Indian economy doing today?
I think Indian economy is one of the best performing economy in the world. Its growth rate clearly indicates that it is doing very well. On various other parameters also, the Indian economy, I found, has a robust growth and is likely to take off very, very well in coming days. Many of the parameters, particularly the budget document and the economic survey, which was released in the month of February, the first week of last week of January, clearly indicates that the fiscal deficit, the macroeconomic stability, there is a macroeconomic stability in the economy. The fiscal deficit has been contained below 3%. Economic growth is likely to be over 6.75%. And the finance minister is probably thinking and expecting that in the coming year, the economic growth may be more than 7.25 or 7.45%, targeting 8% growth rate in coming years. It indicates, and besides this, foreign exchange reserves are fairly good, $4.2 billion, $420 billion, and various other parameters. The growth rate in agriculture, of course, in industry, it is not so good. And another very important aspect is, if you really compare it to what it was about 50 years back or 70 years back, it has shifted its focus from agrarian economy to industrialization, agriculture, and also, I must say, the service sector of the country. The share of each one of them is fairly good now, and the largest and the most important factor is that education sector is the second largest employer in the country as of today. The growth which has taken place both at the school level and also at the higher education level, including technical, clearly indicates that there is a real growth rate in this sector.
What is the present position of Indian public sector banks?
I would proceed with what the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has talked about in the Parliament recently. And he said that when he learned that about 82% of the total loans are bad loans, which means anywhere between 52 lakh to 56 lakh crore worth of loans are bad loans. Earlier it was estimated that the total bad loans are, or NPAs which are generally called, is about 10.5 lakh crores. But if it is so, then it is really a matter of serious concern. Because that means the banking is passing through a very critical situation. I am afraid what happened in 96-97 in Far East with regard to the banking sector, and what happened in America and Europe in 2008, resulting into the government of United States bailing out AIG and other banks, clearly I am afraid that that kind of situation may not occur in India. If we go by the data and the statistics, we find a few things. In the last few years, the government of India has pumped in to bail out public sector banks to the extent of 2.06 lakh crores. That's a very large amount of money. This year, the finance minister has made a provision of 88,000 crores to bail out the banks in order that they are able to maintain a capital adequacy ratio so as to conform to the Basel norms. Another thing is that for the next year, he has also provided for 65,000 crores of bailout process to capitalize them. Now, these situations clearly indicate there are some problems in the banking sector. At the same time, in the last few days, we have found that there emerged some scams. And this is very unfortunate in the country, because we always thought, and I have always been proudly talking about it, that we are very proud of our banking system, which is conservative, and our financial system is really excellent in terms of various sectors in which the whole financial sector has been divided. But this financial services sector recently indicates that we are very vulnerable. For instance, the provision which has been made, the Nirav Modi, who has been able to run away with over 11,003 crores of rupees, and a deputy manager level man could grant as much as 218 crores of rupees as far back as 2011. And on the basis of SWIFT, a guarantee which is given by the PNB to various other banks who had given Nirav Modi and his companies loans based upon that guarantee. Now the bank PNB comes out, Punjab National Bank comes out and says it was a fraud. Actually, it is a systematic failure. How is it possible? There are 7 or 8 audits which are carried out. There is an internal audit, there is a statutory audit, there is a Reserve Bank of India audit, and so on and so forth. I was chairman of an audit committee of State Bank of Patiala long back, and I was also member of the board of directors, and I found that those strict audit conditions cannot really allow these kind of situations to occur. But it means there has been a laxity of audit which was carried out in the last 5, 7 or 10 years. One. Second thing is that the Reserve Bank of India failed in its duty to perform, to check, audit and regulate properly all such loans which have been given. The third, I must say, the senior officials, particularly the top officials of the Punjab National Bank, OBC, and also, it's probably at Bank of Baroda, clearly indicate, because in case of Bank of Baroda, another scam has been surfaced to the extent of about 3,300 crores. One Mr. Kothari, has been able to take away such loans. But of course, he says it is not a fraud. The third recently is OBC, 303 crores of rupees scam which has emerged. Almost every day there is a scam which is emerging. It clearly indicates that top management cannot really shed away its own responsibility. In management, we say there is authority can be delegated, but responsibility cannot be delegated. And therefore, anything which happens in any organization, whether it is public sector undertaking or a private enterprise, it is the top man who is responsible for anything which happens.
Are the people of India losing faith in the country's banking system?
I must say that people are not losing faith. There are for 2 reasons. One, we have no option, because almost 80% of the total banking is in the hands of the public sector undertaking. Secondly, a government institution never fails. It may suffer losses, like Air India suffered heavy losses. Indian banking, about last 2 years back, it had a profit of 46,000 crores. This year, 17-18, they suffered a loss of 26,000 crores, which means a loss in 2 years is over 65,000 crores. Even if it suffers a loss of 1,50,000 crores, there is a government of India and a taxpayer like you and me who will finance those losses. Now, the question which many people are raising, should we privatize these banks? Absolutely, I am not. When there are disruptions, at that time, privatization or such transformative structural reforms are not a good decision, in my opinion.